I'm excited for any of you that have been to any of our worksite wellness conferences, especially the one we put on this year. Our guest today came and visited us during that conference. Her name is Dr. Raquel Garzon. Dr. Garzon, I met at a health promotion conference a couple of years ago. I did a 2-day intensive course with her on health behavior. It was a wonderful course, and I was able to find her again to come share information with us here at MESSA. Dr. Garzon owns an organization called Revitalize Project, and she is a well-known figure in the wellness industry. I'm so happy to bring her with us today, and I will not hesitate bringing her to the screen. Let's go, Dr. Garzon.
Thank you, Rhonda, so much. And I thank all of you for being here with me today. I think I recognize some faces from the last presentation that I gave. I try to look at you and make eye contact and remember some of your faces as I do this, so I don't feel like I'm all alone here talking. So I thank you. And for those of you who haven't heard me before, welcome to the Raquel Show. No, I'm just kidding. So we're here to talk about healthy holidays, which I'm sure you all are interested in because you're here, and it's very challenging to do. We've just gotten through one of the holidays, which was Thanksgiving. So I'm not sure how you all did in terms of health, in terms of your eating and exercising and sleep and stress. I don't know if you guys that are on camera want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on how well you think you did in terms of health. So we got some thumbs up. We've got some neutrals, some thumbs down there. Okay. So what we want to do is, if you had a thumbs up, we want to keep it up for the upcoming, December month, and then going into the new year. For those of you that were neutral, maybe we can just turn that up a little bit. And those of you who had a boo health Thanksgiving, maybe we can adjust that a little bit. And that's the idea here. So it's really up to each of you to decide, what that means to you to have a healthy holiday. If that means more physically oriented, if it might be more emotional and mental and stress management oriented. So I'll let you self-define that. So I wanted to let you know that towards the end of this, I will be putting into the chat a handout that summarizes what we're talking about here and also gives you the action planning worksheet, which comes at the end. So if you did want to download that, it's only 3 pages, and print it out just as a reminder. You can put it on your fridge or put it somewhere. An action plan with the family. I'm going to make that available to you towards the end, and I'll also email it to Rhonda. So for those of you watching the recording, you have a place to access that. So why healthy holidays? Why do we even have to talk about this? Well, let's talk about what happens in the holidays. It's beautiful and it's fun and it's sentimental and meaningful. However, it also comes with challenges. So it comes with the food and beverage temptations. It comes with the lovely people in our family, that we love, but sometimes don't want to spend too much time with, too much up close. Maybe the pandemic has changed some of those dynamics. Maybe it's, split families and trying to figure out who you're going to go see, and, some of those things that arise. So we know that family can be a great blessing, but it can also be very stressful for us. A lot of times we don't get enough sleep as we try to fit more things in during the holidays, whether it's events, getting shopping done, just trying to reach out to everybody. There tends to be just a lot more demand in our lives. Of course, this poor piggy bank is just broken, and we've cracked it because we've got financial pressures coming at the end of the year, and that go along with the holidays as well. And then of course, we've just got this backdrop of a pandemic going on and the implications there. And what does that mean? And we have people that want to go out and about more. We have people that don't want that. And so there's even conflicts with, do we meet or do we not meet? And what is that criteria going to be? So it's like this extra layer of stuff that we've got to deal with. And so that can really leave us feeling frazzled or overwhelmed. So I don't know if any of you can even relate to this sort of thing, but sort of this idea here where I'm putting the little hearts is just kind of feeling this notion of overwhelmed or anxiety or stress. If you have access to annotation and you want to stamp on anything as I go through here, feel free to do that. Express yourself. I want to make sure we're all able to express ourselves here if you want to stamp something as I go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 10 tips for a healthy holiday season. And these tips that I'm giving you are very behavioral oriented. They're things that you can do every single day as you go through your holidays to make them better, to make them not just healthier from a physical perspective, but also emotional, mental, and these are also habits that can carry you through the whole year. So what I like about a lot of these tips is that they're not just good for the holidays, they're good for a lot of the different areas of our lives. They're good for many times of the year as well. So let us get started. If any of you have been in any of my previous sessions, you will know that one of the first things that I start with always, always, always is purpose. And this is going to be no different at all. In this case, defining your purpose really always sets the backdrop for health. It sets the backdrop for your behaviors, your emotions, your mind, and everything. So once again, I've put here, if you haven't been in my previous sessions, now you have the questions that I oftentimes ask. You want to just make sure you're clear on who matters to you, what kind of impact you want to have in your life, what values are important to you, and how you define a successful, meaningful life. Once you're able to do that, what you can then do is decide what your purpose of the holiday season is, because now this helps you determine what kinds of behaviors you would want to align with the purpose of the holiday season. So in your handout, what you're going to see are these questions. How does the holiday season fit into your overall purpose? So where does it fit in? Is it about social connection? Is it about more religious and spiritual for you? Is it more of the food? Is it more about tradition? What is it about the holiday season that really aligns with your purpose? And once you figure that out, then you can start to say, well, what kinds of holiday activities really demonstrate this purpose? What kinds of holiday activities that are out there maybe detract from my purpose? So if for you, it's about a lot of maybe inspirational, religious, and meaning, but then we're kind of distracted by parties in which there's a lot of food and alcohol, that might not necessarily align with what it is that you're trying to necessarily do. But if you're a very social person and this is your time to be social, then that might be something that aligns more, but then we can work on how do you make that part more healthy for you as you attend virtual parties, or I don't know what people might be doing, Zoom activities. And so that's what we really want to do. We want to make sure that what you're engaging in over the holidays doesn't detract or take away, so that you feel like, oh man, the holidays are over. Now I got to start over again. I've got to get back to what really matters to me. Maybe I've taken a couple of steps backwards. We don't want anyone to feel that way. So this is the idea, is to make you feel like your holiday season is right in sync with who you are and what you want to get out of life. And there are implications. So I'm going to talk about things like boundaries. Sometimes we have to set boundaries with people. We have to set boundaries with ourselves. We have to set boundaries in certain situations. And setting boundaries isn't easy because people don't always like boundaries, especially if they're new. We're going to talk about self-care. That's one of the big points here. But how does self-care play a role in your purpose? So I don't think anybody would say, you know, one of my main ideas of my holiday season is to be less healthy when I come out of it. That's just not something I typically hear. It's, I'm going to have this holiday season and oh man, a side effect was I came out less healthy at the end of the holiday season. It's usually a bad side effect that they would put at the end of a drug commercial. Please note, at the end of this holiday season, you may notice bloating, you know, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But that's not what we want out of it. So how can we accomplish what you want out of the holidays and have a side effect to actually be just as healthy or even more healthy than when the holiday season started, just as maybe a goal. So I have these purpose questions for you to look at and to evaluate for yourself. And so hopefully that will set the tone and be helpful to you. Okay. So tip number 2 is about creating new traditions. And I think that this year, everyone's going to have to consider creating new traditions with this backdrop of a pandemic and doing things virtually. I would look at it as an opportunity instead of, oh man, we can't do what we normally do and we have to do, I guess, different stuff. I would say, wow, this is my opportunity right now to create new traditions and to keep my purpose in mind as I create these new traditions, And maybe along the way, these new traditions will align with my purpose. Maybe they'll save me and other people money. Maybe they'll create more meaning, and maybe they'll even help promote healthy behaviors. So maybe it's about volunteering as a family, and you may not be able to volunteer in person, but you could put together a sock drive for kids that need socks, or a toy drive, or maybe bags for kids who are in foster care so that they have, something to look forward to when they are, placed into care, or something along those lines. Maybe you do a virtual 5K type of run or exercise with your family. Maybe you have a virtual dance or karaoke party, or something along those lines, so that it's involving more physical activity, more fun, more connection, and it doesn't always have to be necessarily about food and alcohol and things like that. Maybe you make a new theme around gift giving that is around meaning, and not necessarily around material and money and things along those lines. So it's a challenge to create a meaningful gift for someone, and it has a cap on how much you can spend, or you have to recycle items, or just something along those lines. So what I would encourage you to do is sit with your family and just get creative about what the pandemic has provided as an opportunity to create new traditions that can just align, that you can carry forward even when there's not a pandemic in the future. So those are just some ideas there. Okay. Number 3, plan ahead. This is one I'm going to encourage you to use the whole year through. So what's so great about planning ahead? We know that planning ahead is actually the #1 technique to prevent stress. So if you look at stress literature and stress research, there's a ton of stuff out there once you get stressed as to what kinds of things you can do to feel better and to calm yourself down. But the #1 technique is to prevent stress in the first place through planning ahead. So a lot of times what I will do is sort of look forward and then plan backwards, which I'm sure a lot of you do in the work that you do. And I would encourage you to apply some of those same things for the holiday season. So by this day, I'm going to mail things out, which means by this time I have to assemble, which means by this time I have to, get the materials to make that happen. Putting in buffer days for when things go wrong and things along those lines, planning ahead for whatever it might be, food, visits. And here's where I would encourage you to plan ahead for your exercise. I schedule in my exercise into my calendar a month ahead of time, and then I rework it each week. So like on a Sunday, I'll revisit the week that I've already planned out for the month and say, does this still work? What do I need to make adjustments to? So plan your exercise, plan meals, food, those sorts of things, and plan anything else that involves the holidays. In that planning, what's going to happen is you're going to realize that maybe you've bitten off more than you can chew, and you want to create more realistic expectations for yourself. So just think about that. Think about how you can plan ahead of time for healthier options. Maybe it's a challenge, like a food challenge, the healthy food challenge for the family, for whatever you guys do to get together. It can help with budgeting, scheduling again appropriately so that you don't overschedule yourself. And then you can start to look at, where am I going to need to set boundaries? So if you do have people coming to visit and you've already scheduled exercise, you can start to prepare them. Hey, while you're here, guess what? I'm going to be going and doing exercising. I can't just stay here with you the entire time. It's really important to me. If not, I'll be in a really bad mood. Whatever it is that you need to say, you can begin to plan how you're going to communicate boundaries to other people. Make sure you schedule in fun and relaxation as well. So those are just some of the things that I'm going to encourage you from a planning perspective. The next thing is to establish your holiday mindset. So what are you trying to get out of the holidays? If you don't become bridezilla of the holidays is what I'm saying. So have realistic expectations. If you need to use the Clark Griswold Christmas Vacation movie as, if it doesn't get worse than that, then everything is okay, then that might be a good way to start, right? If your tree doesn't burn down, you don't burn the cat up, you don't have those sorts of things happen, pretty much everything's okay. So just know that things are going to happen that weren't planned, let it go, allow for imperfections. Those are maybe the things that create the best stories and the things that people are going to really remember in the future. So people don't usually remember the most perfect thing that happens. it's a lot of times the spontaneous kinds of things that happen that sometimes at the surface feel like, oh no, but later they become fun and you laugh about it. So just going into the holidays, I think creating the right mindset really helps to relieve some of that stress and anxiety and perfectionism that a lot of us can really fall into. And then here's the most important point, the last one. You can only manage yourself. So just keep that in mind. You can't puppeteer other people. You can't manage what they say, how they act. You can only manage yourself. So if somebody is driving you crazy, don't allow it. You can only manage yourself. You can't change them. So how are you going to respond? How are you going to interact with that so that you don't get sucked into that, I don't know, the train of anxiety, stress, frustration, and that sort of thing. Manage yourself, manage yourself. So just keep that in mind, because I think that's really important, especially when it involves other people. You can't manage your kids. You can only, you know, create a foundation for that. So it's all of those things together. Okay. So the other thing is to define your boundaries. So boundaries are really important all year round. I have an entire workshop just on boundaries because that's how critical they are. And we really, a lot of times struggle with boundaries because we're people pleasers. We want to make everybody happy. We don't want to upset anybody, especially around the holidays, especially during times when people are feeling isolated. But you cannot sacrifice your own self-care and your happiness all the time to make other people happy. So figure out for yourself the most critical boundaries that you need to stay healthy, to stay happy, all of those sorts of things. And part of it is not overcommitting. That's really, really important. So sometimes we overcommit, we say yes to everybody, yes to everything because we want to. Sometimes it's just too much. And so I think narrowing that down to what, again, aligns with that purpose. What are those boundaries we need to set? Practice talking about your boundaries. So practice in the mirror, expressing your boundaries. Even pretend that someone is pushing back on your boundaries and then recommunicating those boundaries so that you don't slip on those boundaries. And just keep in mind, not everyone's going to like your boundaries, especially if you've never set them before with someone. You can still set boundaries in a kind and compassionate way, honoring yourself without being disrespectful. It doesn't mean that they have to agree, and it doesn't mean that they have to like it, but it's an understanding, basically. It's a negotiation to some degree, right? So figure out where those might be. So I have a couple of categories I wrote down. It might be work boundaries. It could be family boundaries. It could be with friends and expectations that they might have. It could be around finances. Everybody has different budgets and different circumstances financially. If you need to set limits around that and boundaries, feel free to do so. Again, as I always say, if you're not paying my bills, I have to decide what those boundaries are for me. Set boundaries around gifts if you need to, set the tone or agreements. So I have friends that we've just made an agreement and said, you know, we're just not going to give gifts to each other's kids. It's just gotten out of hand. It's too much. And, you know, we respect each other's finances, and that's just an agreement that we've come to. So a lot of times you can just talk through some of these things. And then most importantly, boundaries that you need for self-care. That might be boundaries around food pushers. Those that say, come on, take 3 more bites. You didn't try my pie. What do you mean you don't want more? I made this, you know, like all of the food pushers in your life. You may need to figure out what you're going to say to them so that you don't get pushed into eating things you don't want or overeating. Okay, so now we get to the big one. Self-care, because this one's a bunch of slides. So I want to make sure we get through all of this one. I'm going to talk about food and drinks, exercise, sleep, and stress. Those are all very kind of the cornerstone of self-care. And I love this quote. I have it in a lot of my programs, and I can never stress this enough. Self-care is never selfish. It is good stewardship of the only gift you have, the gift that you were put on earth to offer to others. It's never something that you should apologize for at all. So self-care is very, very critical. And you want to role model that, and you really want to teach that to others. So food and drink, here we go. How do food and drinks fit into your purpose? So you start there. What food and drinks will bring you the most enhancements or joy? That could be eggnog, I don't know. But how much eggnog do you need to really enhance or feel the joy? And so that's where you want to try to say, okay, so I really love eggnog, and it's really only, you know, certain time of the year that I have that, but we know that it's very caloric, right? It might have other implications. So how much is enough, right? How much can you enjoy and still feel like you fit into this purpose and these boundaries and all of those sorts of things? So that's something that you can sort of work out for yourself and plan ahead. So what I have here are a bunch of different tips here for the food and drink. So I'm trying to find a stamp here with a color that will show up. I made these crazy slides here. Oh, sorry, and now hold on. Let me just, I gotta minimize the chat here. Okay, now I'm gonna open up the stamping tool. So, and if you want a stamp to say, this is what I'm gonna do, feel free, but you wanna decide ahead of time what foods or drinks really matter. So for once again, if you're gonna go to like a big thing, okay, what are like my 3 go-to things that I know I'm gonna eat? The rest of it, I don't even need to touch. That might be a good way to do it. Make healthier substitutions. So if no one else is gonna bring something healthy, you make that low carb, no sugar thing. And if nobody else wants to eat it, at least it's there for you. So I do stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you guys don't want to eat my low carb, low sugar thing? That's fine, but I'm going to be eating it. Drinking plenty of water and no calorie drinks, just so, you know, we don't fill up on the liquid calories. Staying in the zone. So don't starve yourself so that you can then eat a lot later. That just doesn't really do anything good for you. So it's more about just staying in that zone. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied, even if you're eating small amounts throughout the day. Drink water when you are drinking alcohol. Pace yourself as you go through, so also very important. Let's see here, eating salad and vegetables and high fiber foods, so incorporating those in along with the other things that you might find. Being mindful and enjoying every bite, so instead of inhaling and slurping everything, really just taking your time, enjoying the food that's there. Taking food with you. So I take some strange snacks with me places, but if you can take stuff with you and things that you know are going to be healthier, that would be really good. Create gatherings or meetings where food isn't the main event. So if you can, again, create like a virtual karaoke event. And so you don't really have to prepare food for that. Everyone can just eat their own thing. So it's not like the main theme. The dance party, that's not a main theme where food has to be such a dependent thing. And then just focusing on connecting with others. A lot of times holidays are about connecting with others, and we just overly emphasize the food and drink. You can connect with others without food or drink at all, especially when you have the right people in front of you. So really just thinking about those sorts of things. So, so thank you for those who participated and marked some items here. If you, you'll have this in the handout, so you can feel free to mark this in your own handout as we go. So exercising. Will exercising help me today? What's the answer always to that question? Always. It's always yes, right? Rhonda, yes? Will exercising help me today? It's always yes. Will I regret exercising once I do it? No. Nobody ever said, oh man, I can't believe I exercised today. So we're not gonna regret it. We know it's gonna help us. The question is what do you have access to and how long can you do it? So even if you just do literally an 8-minute workout using a body weight app or something like that, no, it's not 30 minutes. No, it's not 60 minutes, but it's something. And it's going to help you. I guarantee you that 8 minutes is going to help you to feel less stressed, less anxious. It's going to give you more energy. It's certainly going to increase your metabolism. It's a win-win situation. So just figure out what you can work in that day. So exercise tips, prioritize it. And like I said, treat it like an appointment. I always schedule my exercise. So that's just something that you can do. Does it happen 100% of the time? No, but it happens most of the time because I schedule it. I'm one of those kinds of people. So a lot of us are schedule driven. If that works for you, do it. Do shorter sessions with more intensity. Like I said, do 8 minutes, but do 8 minutes really, really well, and you will get something out of it. So never think that something is not enough. 5 minutes is enough if you do it well. 5 minutes consistently. will make a difference in your life. So just do something. Make it fun. Do something different. Find something online that everybody will enjoy. Maybe set specific goals with watches, distance, steps, whatever it is, and keep track, share it, put it out on social media so we know that we're more, responsible when we do that. Wake up 15 minutes earlier and then just do a body weight routine. 15 minutes when everybody else is sound asleep, right? So that's a great time to do things. Start small and work your way up to more. So don't overwhelm yourself by saying, I have to do 60 minutes of exercise. If that's not what you're doing right now, that's not realistic. So start small and work your way up. Exercise while you're doing other activities. So I always have fun with this. I always say shower starts with an S. So showering while I'm washing is going to be for squats, right? Cooking starts with a C. So while I cook, I'm going to do calf raises, right? So you can make it fun. You can, while you're doing other things, you can do some activities that will result in making you feel better and getting some exercise in, and you haven't lost any time doing it. I always say this one, part of it is because I have lupus and I have sometimes pains in my joints and things along those lines. If you have a body that can move, be grateful for that and use it and appreciate it, because it doesn't always last. It's not always going to do the things that you want it to do. So while it's working, use it, love it, embrace it, work out because you love your body, not because you're trying to punish it in any way. So sort of embrace what it can do. Connect exercise to your purpose and make it happen. Remember that exercise can relieve stress. So those things are important. So even if you're not exercising because for your body or, for your weight or whatever it is, exercise for the stress aspects, for all of the endorphins that it sends you, for the circulation, for the oxygen, for the neurons in your brain that you need, all of those sorts of things. Think about all of the reasons that you might want to exercise. Okay. Good. Now, we're going to talk about sleep. So it's so critical. We cannot lose sleep. So please, again, prioritize this in your schedule and let other people know what your bedtime is. So I have this conflict with my husband that he likes to stay up late and party. He's a party guy. I may go to bed early and get up early, and he likes to invite people to the house. I don't like having people at my house. I am a presenter that looks extroverted in my personal life. I am very introverted. So literally, I tell people when he had people over in November, it was his birthday, and he had people over, just a few people that are very close to us, to dance. And I set the tone. I say at 11 o'clock, people, even though you're at my house, I will be going to bed. I am not staying up past 11, but feel free to stay in my house, crash here, whatever you need to do. But I cannot be on your schedule because it just completely ruins me. So I know that it seems weird to, in the past, we've had people over for New Year's and I literally go to bed at 12:05 and people stay at my house until 4 in the morning. I just go to bed. And so those are my boundaries. And it's a quirk that I have, but other people now know, and they just stay and party at my house. And they let me go to bed. So whatever it is that you need to do, just communicate it. Remember that sleep influences your eating, your metabolism, your weight, and your emotions, and your ability to even manage stress in your mind. So it's not just about how tired you feel, but when you don't get enough sleep, you eat more, your metabolism slows down, your body stores more fat in the midsection around your waist. There's all kinds of things that happen. And that's just with one night of not sleeping 7 hours. Just one night of not sleeping 7 hours, the next day you will actually store more fat and slow your metabolism and eat more. So now imagine accumulating several of those days. Sleep is critical when it comes to eating and all of those sorts of things. So 7 to 9 hours, I think if you've been in my workshops before, sleep cannot be average, just so you know. You can't get 6 one night, 9 another night and say, that's okay. It averages to 7.5. It doesn't work like that. Every single night that you don't get 7 hours of sleep, there's micro damage. That's what I call it. Micro damage within the system, micro damage within the brain, micro damage that occurs from a metabolic perspective. So we want to try to get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. And you can take a nap. It is refreshing, but you can't add the nap to your sleep hours because it doesn't work like that either. We're monophasic. That sleep needs to occur all in a row, all at night in order to get the best results. The sleep that you get before midnight is more restorative. So early to bed, early to rise. That's why I bow out early. So trying to get to bed earlier, it just aligns with our circadian system a lot better. Use sleep trackers, bedtime routines, and practice good sleep hygiene. So my watch tracks activity, but it also tracks sleep, including deep sleep and light sleep and the stages of sleep, so that I can see if I'm getting quality sleep, not just enough sleep. There are lots of trackers right now on sale. So if you want to look at those, you can do that. Create an atmosphere of darkness, quiet, relaxation, calm, and boredom. So if you do not want to be watching violent, exciting shows on Netflix just before bed, that would be like, would you do that with your kids? Show them some, you know, very violent show and be like, okay, baby, now go to sleep. You know, that just doesn't seem logical, but we do those things all the time and our brains work exactly the same way. That imprint stays and it's really hard to quiet the mind. And then the last one, large meals, caffeine after 2, and alcohol after 6 are all sleep disruptors. You're like, when am I supposed to drink? Well, it is challenging, but the earlier in the day that you can drink, it is less sleep disrupting. So what will happen is alcohol causes you to fall asleep, but it does not allow you to go through the deep stages of sleep, which means that even if you get enough hours of sleep, you didn't actually get good quality sleep. And you can test this. So you can wear one of your sleep trackers, look at deep and light sleep, drink alcohol, and see what happens to your sleep stages. So they're very disrupted with that. Okay, last one on the self-care, stress. Who or what triggers negative stress for me? Just being aware. What can I do to better prepare for those situations? So can I avoid them? If not, how can I go into those situations better prepared? And what can I do once I'm in that situation? When I'm feeling negative stress, what can I do to calm myself? So I've done other workshops on the breathing techniques and 4, 7, 8 and the 5, 3, 2, 1s and all of those sorts of things. So for you, what helps to calm you down? Me, one of my go-tos, which really annoys my husband, is Hamilton. Hamilton, I've watched it like 5 times through on the Disney Channel. I've seen it in person on stage. But the songs on Hamilton, for some reason, just, oh man, it's my go-to. I even watch the little Hamil cast, all kinds of things. I'm obsessed with it. So that's my thing. Ironing is another one of my things. So I will iron clothes and that's just very relaxing. I know, send me your clothes if you want it ironed. So what kinds of things calm you down so that way you have a go-to that you can access very quickly. If you have been stressed out, how can you recover? And then how can you use stress in a positive way? So if you have a negative situation, maybe it's a negative person, maybe you can say right now, I can't avoid being with this person, but maybe I can work on tolerance. Maybe I can work on compassion. Maybe I can imagine why this person is the way that they are. Maybe they had a very rough childhood, who knows? But doing those sorts of things can help you to develop positive traits. So it's just something else to consider. Okay, so here's some stress tips that I will give you. Start your day by thinking about your purpose and gratefulness. Don't start your day by checking emails and social media and getting all stressed out. Start the day something really positive and nice. Practice mindfulness, recognizing your negative stress and regulating it right away. Don't let it get out of hand. Don't let it snowball. I'm going to talk about mindfulness, so that's something that you can do. Manage only what you can. And what can you manage? I always say this, you can manage your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. That's it, nobody else. But we know that when we manage our emotions, thoughts, and our actions, those can influence other people and they can influence other people in a positive way. So just think about that. What I think, say, and do could potentially influence the situation and the person that I'm with. Let go of the things that you cannot manage, the uncontrollable factors. Just think about your response. Laugh about things that go wrong. I mean, what else can you do? And then take corrective action. What can I do next time? Leverage those purpose, values, gratitude, perspective, kindness, and negative moments. I'm going to give you a recommendation that when you are feeling stressed, negative, and pushed, like those buttons are being pushed, I'm going to give you 4 emotions. So I'll show you what those are later that you can work on. And end your day by reviewing everything that went well. Don't end your day by going, oh my gosh, I didn't do this, and then tomorrow I have to do this. That's not a great way to end and wrap up the night. Think about everything that you did well that resonated with your purpose and your values. Okay. What else? Rest, reset, and recover. If you've been in my sessions before, some of this will look familiar. You want to find activities that reduce fatigue and replenish depleted resources physiologically and psychologically. So these are some of those that I'm going to outline here. Alone time. I like alone time. I'm sure all of us do to some degree. So I have my little crazy places that I go to. My walk-in closet is one of them. I close the door, I lay on that floor, and it's just the best thing in the world. I also, I was on the radio yesterday, live radio, and somebody was asking me off air about something, and then I got on air because they found it interesting. I do math puzzles in the bathroom, which is another one of my relaxing things. It's division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, all in one puzzle. It's like a Sudoku, but with math. I love it. And I was saying in the radio that sometimes I hope I have to go to the bathroom so I can go do these math puzzles. So whatever, again, I have these odd little things, but I'm sure all of us do. Find those things and take advantage of them so that you can relax, that you can push the reset button, whether it's nature, maybe it's just one yoga pose that you really, really love, the happy baby or child's pose or something along those lines. Maybe it's your pet. And just being 5 minutes with your pet, brushing your pet, playing with your pet really helps you. Anything physical is going to be helpful. The research on physical activity and exercise and what it does for your brain is absolutely unbelievable. So do anything when it comes to physicality. I have a little trampoline that I can bounce on just here at home. All kinds of little just fun things that I can do. Creative activities, art, music, hobbies. What's great about these is you don't even have to be good at them for them to work. So even if you are horrible at art or drawing or singing, I'm a terrible singer, but I love it. Do it because that's going to help you to reset. And then humor, laughter, curiosity, adventure, trying to think like a child and going back to your childhood days of the things that entertained you, the things that made you laugh, tuning into those. So once again, lots of different things to choose from here. Okay. So mindfulness, it's in all of my presentations and it's in all of them for a reason. If I could recommend one thing to everybody to do every day from the moment they understood language at all, it would be mindfulness. In schools, at home, every single person of any age should be practicing mindfulness. It's one of those things that's free, and it's one of those things that really produces such compelling benefits. Literally changes the way that your brain is wired, and it's for the good, just so you know. There's really nothing else that you can do that will have this kind of an effect without having negative side effects. So once again, I always put the benefits of mindfulness, mental flexibility, self-insight and acceptance, being able to manage your thoughts. The whole entire foundation of our attitude, our mindset, and the way that we look at the world is all thought management based. And we can really use mindfulness to have constructive and helpful thoughts. Mindfulness is one of the best tools that you can use to reduce stress, meaning that you will be triggered by less things and less people. How fantastic is that? Less anxiety, thought rumination or thought repetition decreases. Women are especially prone to thought rumination for some reason, which is why studies show that mindfulness helps women even more than men, and that's because of the rumination aspect. It can help decrease negativity, emotional reactions, and that survival response, which makes us say things that sometimes we regret. So what are some of the things that I recommend? Apps. So once again, I've put my favorite apps up here, the Headspace, Calm, Tide, Insight Timer, and Buddhify. Lots of different options there. I recommend that you practice right before you get out of bed because it really sets the tone for your day, or just before you go to sleep because it can help to relax and put you into a state of sleep. You can also practice mindful breathing throughout the day. Mindful walking is a great thing to practice, and also mindful body scan exercises where you sort of just lay down, relax, and then scan from top to bottom or bottom to top, just tuning into how your body feels. Remember that stress isn't just something that's up here. Stress will manifest in the physical body as well, in the stomach and the intestines and the throat and the neck and all different kinds of places. And when you can tune in and do things like body scan exercises, it helps you to just integrate and get to know your body better. You can practice when driving. We all want mindful drivers that are paying attention, so that's always good. Mindful eating has been shown to help you to eat less. Mindful exercising shows that you actually recruit the right muscles and work them better and more intensely when you actually practice mindfulness and pay attention when you're exercising. And mindful cooking, maybe it turns out tasting even better. Practice right before stressful situations because that can help calm you down. And you want to practice it when you're in the stressful situation, anxious or feeling worried. Do mindfulness things with the family. That could be a new tradition. It could be something that you incorporate into some of the events that you do. Some of these apps, you just put them on speakerphone. Budify has longer ones, which are really fun. I used to use it on my kids as punishment. Every time they would argue in the car, I would say, that's it, we're putting on a Budify, because they take like 10 to 12 minutes. So then everybody had to sit down for 10 to 12 minutes and listen to the mindfulness. So then they just stopped arguing so that I wouldn't play 12 minutes of Budify at a time. So you can use it strategically in your life. Okay, so what else can we do? These are the 4 things that I wanted you to think about when you get into stressful situations. So here are my recommendations for these. 2 ways that I think we could use: gratitude, forgiveness, empathy and compassion, acceptance and tolerance. These are all emotions that have been studied in the science. And when we invest in these, they help our health, they help our happiness, they help our performance. We just feel better. So here's one way to look at it. You could either look at it each day, you say, I'm going to practice each one of these at some point in my day. So you could start off with gratitude in the morning. As you're doing grocery shopping and things are chaotic, you might have to use forgiveness for the person who appeared to you acting rude in the grocery store. You're going to forgive them. And then you might have to show some compassion towards somebody at some point as you wait in line at the post office, who knows, to mail out packages. You're going to try to put yourself in their shoes. You're going to try to show compassion because you don't know what situation they're in. And then maybe as you're driving and someone cuts you off, you're going to be very, very tolerant. And so you could practice trying to find a place to put these in your day. The other way that you can use this is every time that you feel angst or upset or anxious or worried or angry or frustrated, you could say, which one of these could I use right now? If I'm grateful right now, that really helps a lot of times to kind of ease whatever you might be feeling. Maybe forgiving yourself, forgiving others in that moment could help you. Maybe showing self-compassion or self-empathy could help. And maybe showing some tolerance and acceptance of yourself in some way. So those are just 2 different ways that you could use these emotions throughout the holidays. And of course, again, these are good practices to use throughout the whole year, but the holidays are always a good time to test these out. So I recommend that you do that. All right, here is the last one. It's one of my favorite. Give and serve. A lot of times that's what people associate with the holiday season. Again, great to give and serve all year round. The research on giving and serving is extremely vast in terms of what it does, not just for the people that you're giving and serving to, but what it does for you. It can help people get out of depression that has been very hard to treat, even through medications and therapy. You put someone to volunteer and mentor others, and all of a sudden, the feeling of helping others is really the turning point for them through depression or through this anxiety. So again, from a stress management perspective, when you're giving back, it really, it can help. So volunteering, again, you may not be able to volunteer in person the way that you normally do. I've seen a lot of things on social media in terms of people gathering coats, for example. Here is one of them in my area. People are for their birthday or for holiday, they're saying, don't give me gifts, give me old coats that you're not going to use, you know, gently worn coats, and I'll be going out and giving those out to people that need coats, whatever that might be. So finding ways to do that. Supporting others, that doesn't have to be financially or with material things. It's just reaching out to friends that maybe you haven't seen on social media for a while. An absence of social media is a sign of depression, loneliness, pushing people away, not engaging. So it's reaching out to the people maybe that you haven't seen posting anything, and that's not typical of them. Paying it forward, we all know those sorts of things, and just general be kind. We all know that we can use more kindness in this world. And again, these might be things that you could create as new traditions. You could use this in place of other things that you had before as part of the holidays. So in your worksheet, which I will post right now, I get carried away and then I just forget. Can I go to the chat? See, I don't have chat privileges, I think, Rhonda, anymore because I'm not a co-host.
Oh, it's not showing you. Let's get that for you right now.
Okay, that way I can put the handout in there.
There you go. So it did switch over.
It did. But it was like late.
How's that for you?
Nope. No chat for me. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. You are a co-host now.
See how I tested it at the beginning? You didn't happen to download it from the beginning, did you, when I posted it?
You know what happened is I was kicked out when I tried to share my screen, and it brought me back in, so I can't see the chat. Okay. Perhaps you can just email it.
I will email it to you. Yeah, I don't know.
I have it.
You do? Thank you. Post it. Yay! Okay. Somebody who still has access to my original file share. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So in that handout, it's just 3 pages. It summarizes these 10 tips. What you have is action planning page. And again, it helps tap into what do you want to enjoy most this holiday season? What are those healthier behaviors that can help you to achieve that? And it helps you to identify barriers and how to overcome those barriers. So you have a place where maybe you can write some health goals, some specific behaviors, whether it's around exercise, food, setting boundaries, planning, scheduling, whatever it is that you think would help you the most, maybe that you heard or things that you already thought about that you needed to do. If you can find someone to support you, that is always better. If you have a friend that you say, listen, check in with me on the exercise, make sure I'm doing it. Check in with me. If you see me on social media past 10 o'clock at night, tell me to get off the social media and go to bed. Whatever it is that you need to do to recruit help along the way is good. And then we always get off track. That's just life. It's kind of like a pilot. A pilot once told me, a plane is always off course. That's what the pilot is for. And I just thought, well, that's strange. I'm on planes all the time. What do you mean it's always off course? And that's what he said. It's always off course. And that's what I'm there for, to course correct. And so we're sort of always off course to some degree in our lives. And so that's what we're there for. We're there to course correct at every single moment throughout the year, through the day, through the moments. I just did a keynote this morning and somebody was like, yeah, I'll start in January. And I'm like, well, if a pilot did that, we'd be in real big trouble. So we need to act like the pilot and be constantly course correcting every single moment, not waiting until Monday, not waiting until January, not waiting until after the birthday, after the holidays. Every single day is an opportunity to course correct and keep yourself on track for the things that really matter to you. So I just want to thank everybody so much for being here. I thought I was going to run out of time because I always do. And here I am with like a few minutes left. So I don't know if we want to put anything to the chat or if Rhonda, you wanted to ask me any questions. I'm going to take a little quick picture here. If you wanted to ask me any questions about anything that you saw, I'm here.
Or I will enter, if anyone has a question, if you'd like to put it in the chat, I will pose it to Dr. Garzon. Let's see. No, just lots of thank yous, thank yous, thank yous. Somebody asked for some suggestions on boundaries or boundary. Let me see if I can find
the boundary setting, because I have a whole workshop on that. Maybe Rhonda, that's for our future presentation. We can do one on boundaries.
If we get you back at the conference, I have some resources. Can I have some resources on boundaries? Definitely, we can share some resources with you. A lot of thank yous, Raquel.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, so thank you for being with us today. We appreciated a lot of great tips for us. I'm definitely going to engage the exercise tips. You know, I love to do that. And especially the mindful exercise. That's a big deal. Big deal thinking about your exercise and really feeling the muscle and focusing in on what you're doing.
Completely.
Makes a big
Completely.
difference, a game changer. So thank you for coming and sharing this time with us, sharing this space with us, everyone. MESSA members, you're great people because you have MESSA, and we like you a lot. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, everyone. It was great having you here with me. Thank you.